with Lieutenant General KJ Singh and Brigadier SS Ahluwalia, both retired veterans from the Indian Army. General Singh was the former Western Army commander. He also served in Manipur and in Nagaland after the 1971 war, of course. And Brigadier Ahluwalia served in the 1971 India-Pakistan war. And the reason I have both of them today is, of course, the ongoing crisis in Bangladesh still unfolding. I'm Jyoti Malhotra from the Tribune, and I have with me Vijay Mohan, who covers the defense beat in the Tribune newspaper. The Bangladesh crisis is ongoing, and my first question to you, General Singh and Brigadier Ahluwalia. First of all, welcome to the Tribune.
Thank you.
Your first comments on this crisis, both of you very closely associated with those parts. You commanded the whole stretch from Malda right up to Assam. So your first comments on what's happening in Bangladesh.
Firstly, ma'am, let me compliment Tribune for this very wonderful initiative, something where whole world is transiting to this space. So compliments to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
And congratulations on this initiative.
Seconded.
See, what happens is when we look at our neighborhood, we tend to focus on Pakistan and China. And that's natural because we've had conflicts with them. And when it comes to Bangladesh, we somehow lose sight of it. But when I go and address and speak in universities, I often ask them this question: which is the country with which we've got the longest border? And I'm surprised.
Nobody has the answer?
Nobody has the answer.
Because it's more than 4,000 kilometers long.
Bangladesh.
Yeah, Bangladesh. And it joins 7 of India's states in the northeast, a very narrow chicken's neck that connects the so-called mainland to the northeast, barely 22 kilometers in width. So you're absolutely right. Very few people know that part of the country.
One more thing to that.
Yes.
Since I commanded that corps in Siliguri and looked after that sensitive area where we have borders with 4 countries, now we also have a sense of entitlement about Bangladesh. कि हमने आज़ादी दी तो बांग्लादेशी हमारे तो गुलाम होने चाहिए. They should always be grateful to us.
So what is wrong with that feeling?
Ma'am, see, the generations change. Now, the people who were there, who are today agitating and who are leading this unrest, were not even born that.
That's right.
So they have no idea.
53 years ago.
Yeah. They have no idea what happened. So countries have to develop permanent interests, shared interests. And sense of entitlement with smaller neighbors is unlikely to work.
I'm completely in agreement with you, General. Brigadier Ahluwalia, my first question to you. You must have been a really young man, and I know that you captured the highest peak in the Siachen Glacier area. In fact, there are stories about you where, which note you doing that, commemorate that event in the southern Siachen, like you said. But your memories of the 1971 India-Pakistan war, of course you fought on the Western Front, on the Pakistan front, not in the Bangladesh front. But having said that, when you look at what's going on in Bangladesh today, what are your first thoughts?
Unfortunate what is happening here, because the present generation, younger generation, this is the third generation, in fact, after 71 war, which is there spearheading this movement. They are not aware of what the past, how Bangladesh came into being even, how the Bangladesh was liberated from East Pakistan. So, unfortunately, what has happened, the high-headed, the leadership has aggravated the situation where the young people have come to these. They started the agitation. Unfortunately, today the agitation has been hijacked by Jamaat-e-Islami, BNP, and other agency, and I won't even discard foreign agencies like ISA. So,
like ISI, Pakistan ISI,
even Chinese.
Okay.
I would go to that extent.
What do you think, General? Do you think that the Pakistan ISI and the Chinese are involved in this?
See, ma'am, there are 3 narratives which are going on. One is that Victoria Nuland went there, and there is this project.
Victoria Nuland, just to tell our viewers, is a very senior diplomat in the State Department in the US.
And she unfortunately is linked with regime change and all this kind of thing. So
in the Ukraine.
So here there is a narrative that US wanted this to happen. But I don't somehow tend to subscribe to this. US battling with the situation in Gaza, in Ukraine, will they like to open another front here? And for what?
Okay, so
What gains
that's
will
one
it?
narrative. What are the others?
The second narrative is that it is ISI and China driven. Okay, they have some role. It's not as if they don't have a role. And the third thing which is said is that it is spontaneous. So I would pick up some common factors from all. Americans are probably happy that Hasina is gone because Hasina was not listening to them. Chinese are also happy because Hasina was trying to balance between India and China. She was not anti-China, but she was balancing. So that Chinese are not.
But you remember that on her recent trip to China, barely a few weeks ago, she cut short her trip from Beijing and returned to Bangladesh. So do you think that could have been one aspect that the Chinese could have been upset with her and therefore they instigated this regime change?
Ma'am, surely they would have done that. And Chinese, why wouldn't Chinese like to do this? So Chinese would be happy. But all said and done, you cannot excuse Sheikh Hasina because she created this environment. Okay, you can have catalysts, but the basic situation was created by her, giving an opportunity to these catalysts to come in and create this chaos.
Right. I'm going to, Vijay, would you like to ask the two gentlemen a question?
What could be the role of the Bangladesh army in this whole episode? How much of an influence does the army hold in Bangladesh?
Vijay, Bangladesh army, I studied this because it was part of our NDC curriculum, has got a all-pervasive kind of role in Bangladesh. This is 30th intervention by Bangladesh army. You know, elections when they are held in Bangladesh, army deploys logistics and resources, including helicopters and all this.
Unlike in India, where the Election Commission of India deploys all the resources.
And army is told to stay away. There is a minimum distance laid down for army people to be.
Thank God for that, General. We don't want the army anywhere near our politics. You should protect our country on the borders, but not.
But ma'am, I would differ with you in one respect.
Okay.
In this situation, it suits India's interests if army retains control for a while.
In Bangladesh.
In Bangladesh, as long as it is possible. See, what are the options?
That's interesting.
These students are just students. But then with students is Islamic Chhatra Shubhar, which is the Jamaat's front. There is BNP, there is Jatiya Party. They have two things in common. One is mobocracy and second is throw Sheikh Hasina out. Beyond that, there is nothing common.
But it was the Bangladesh army, the chief, Wakar Zaman, by the way, married to a second cousin of Sheikh Hasina.
Sheikh Hasina, yes.
Who said that 48 hours before she finally stepped down, he is the one who said that they would not fire on the innocent protesters on the street. Yeah. So they are taking charge. They want to intervene in Bangladeshi politics.
I agree with you. That part I agree with you that he gave her a sort of ultimatum also that you have to go and you have to record this speech and you go away. And it is distressing because an army should never come to this stage. Why should parliament building be burnt? Why should PM's house be looted and plundered? These are not good signs. You know, it happened in Kabul, it happened in Colombo, it is now happening in Dhaka, it happened in Lahore also. So this mobocracy is it's like a virus. It can spread, it can go to, we have to be worried also. This emboldens people to resort to such tactics. So my sense is, and I'll come back to that point that I was making, though this, current chief, like ma'am said, Waka, is 1 month old, just 1 month old, but he's got great credentials. He was CGS, he was also the principal staff officer in Bangladesh. They have a very unique thing that the PM's office has a major general who de facto becomes something like a mini NSA. So he's done that role also. And he's married to her cousin. So all these things are there. 1 month old. But I hope that, see, who will put order in that place? It has to be, it can't be done by technocrats.
Somebody has to take charge. What
And
about you, Brigadier? What do you
I have
think?
a slightly different take.
Yes.
In Bangladesh, the army hierarchy at the top is personally chosen by Hasina, and they all either related
Or was chosen by Hasina. We know that she's still at the Hindon Air Base,
Yeah,
a
still.
few kilometers away from Delhi. Yes.
Now, similarly, hierarchy in the civil services. So she had last 10 or 15 years, she was in the Hem Affair. She had percolated all organizations, had typically controlled them. Unfortunately, the decision what happened is not her creation. She went against it, and the students joined her to file a appeal against that, against the judgment. But things happened manner that the catalyst worked out, because she was roughshod over the all sort of opposition. Now the question is, if the leadership does not listen to people. Now similarly, the army, though she had chosen the people, but she hardly ever allowed them the free hand.
But tell me, how important is Bangladesh for the Northeast?
Very important. Bangladesh today, as you already mentioned and aware of it, that all our northern east states, 7 states are bordering it. Some of the states earlier had insurgencies in that area. At erstwhile East Pakistan, before the Bangladesh came in, those insurgencies had safe havens in East Pakistan, and some are still lingering on. But Sheikh Hasina, when she came on to power and she had built up good relations with India, they were all kicked out from there. Now that way we are comfortable with her. And last, the equation where the leadership also was very healthy, and so much so I was mentioning to him that about 150 crore projects are running in Bangladesh today by the Indian government,
Right.
which we don't know whether to continue.
The same question to you.
I'd like to
The
take
same
this
question
theme a
to you,
bit.
General. Yes.
See, we often underestimate the importance of Bangladesh in creating chaos for us. 50s, we only talk of proxy war in J&K. In 50s, Fizo crossed over to Bangladesh. The Naga insurgents were taken there. Ulfa militants were trained over there. And when Sheikh Hasina came to power, I wrote an article, I wrote that she should be given a Bharat Ratna after her initial months. Because what did she do? She took away that support structure which was there. All our insurgent groups in Northeast, all of them, from all Tripura, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Assam, have found shelter there. And if you remember, Anup Chertia was handed over to us. Paresh Barua was thrown out. Anthony Shimre, who's currently the head of NSC and IM, was staying there in Bangladesh. Today he is heading NSC and IM in India. So it is very dangerous for us if we do not find, at least we have to find some mechanism, some methods, and we'll have to be very vigilant, because now Pakistan ISI would want to establish, revive these things. As it is, we are having problems in Manipur. And see also...
So there's a fear of insurgency reviving in the
Definitely,
Northeast.
Vijay.
You
It
think
is-
so? You think there will be?
Ma'am, it can happen. Law order can certainly happen. And the states like Ulfa has still not resolved the thing completely. Naga problem has not been fully resolved. Manipur is hot. So it's a dangerous situation.
But you just said that Pakistan ISI was, you don't believe that it could be playing a role, but you feel that it may be.
No, Pakistan ISI, I never said they won't. They are not, they don't have that capability to engineer a thing completely on their own. You have to give them a chance.
But they may be happy to play. Once the insurgency has begun, they may
Of
be
course,
happy.
they would have
I want to
values.
say something on this.
Yes, sir.
I have a different take on this
Okay.
issue. You see, ISI and the Chinese, they may not have so far what has taken place in Bangladesh, contributed or taken part in that. But now the situation, they'll take over.
They will take, they will play a far greater role.
They far
and they
greater
have
role.
much more influence
Yeah,
in
they
today's
have-
Bangladesh.
With BNP, they have a much greater role. Army, they may not. But Jamaat is their brainchild. Right.
The Pakistan ISI's brainchild.
Yes, this is the brainchild.
Okay. Vijay, another question for the
Infiltration is a major problem in the Northeast. Now, do you think this will continue, will rise now?
See, there is a great,
Especially with migrants coming into Bengal and the northeastern states, Assam and all that, which is changing the demographic trend in that entire region. What could be the future in the next few years?
There's a great demographic challenge in front of us. And see, it is exacerbated by a situation. Manipur is facing the Chin influx, it's happening. Rohingyas is a problem, that is there. Now, combine it with the situation where in Assam elections have to take place. Delimitation was done recently. Constituencies were re-laid out to deny advantage to a particular religion. North Bengal is hot. And governors are today in a situation, they claim they are looking at the national interest. So it's a very, very difficult situation, and elections are also to take place in Bihar. Because see, Siliguri corridor, those districts of Gopalganj, Katihar, they are fairly close. They are just next. After Malda, those districts come up. So influence radiates over there, permeates in those districts. So I would tend to believe that demographic challenge is very live for us. Manipur has got quite a sizable kind of a Muslim community. They are called Pangals. Assam, of course, there are districts which have got districts like Karimganj and Silchar, and they have all these problems that is there. And West Bengal again. So demographic challenge is very live. We have to remain vigilant, and we have to deny that it will not happen like what happened in 71. That kind of humongous kind of exodus will not take place into India. But challenges are very real for us.
Are you worried, Brigadier, that this could become an anti-India place, an anti-India center where all kinds of radical elements could come together, and this could become a place that is of concern?
Foresee the future. What, according to my reckoning, this situation has come to a little boil. With the result, now is these other agencies will step in. And stepping into these agencies is inimical to India's interest, whoever they are. And according to me, Pakistan may only have interest to have bases for jihadis. That's it. Insurgency long term, it will take time to bring up insurgencies, because you need to train those people and have to then infiltrate those people. It will take long time. But immediate problem is the jihadis, SSG groups. Now, if they want to create mischief for India, that is the place they will do. Right?
Yeah.
You just said Bangladesh Army has a huge role in this country. Bangladesh Army and the Indian Army also enjoy a cordial relationship. There have been joint training programs and interactions. How can military diplomacy be exploited to suit India's interest in such a situation?
See, Vijay, there are 2-3 things which I would like to flag here. One is all the regional mechanisms which were there, BBIN, SAC which we have, BIMSTEC is on ventilator, rest are completely.
Sir, SAC is on ventilator, not only ventilator, I think it's dead.
It's dead. That's why I'm not putting it on ventilator status. I'm saying BIMSTEC is the only one which is on ventilator, rest are dead. BBIN is not there, and SAC is just not there.
BBIN, just to tell our viewers, is the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal sub-regional grouping.
And they have a headquarter in Dhaka. That's a very sort of, this organization could have done lots during this time. So we have a situation where regional mechanisms are not in place. India, we say military diplomacy is an oxymoron. How can military professionals be diplomats? That's the feeling which diplomats have got. It's got something to do with silo mentality also. If you, like Bangladesh would have couple of military professionals as ambassadors. Pakistan has lots of them. Myanmar has lots of them. But India would have 1 or 2, which are nominal, which are placed just given for this thing. But this is the time I would tend to believe that we should reach out, because this chief has done a course in UK and he's done the staff course over there. We should reach out. We should find out who was there, who did this course with him, and make some move. No harm in trying. Here's the problem. So
You mean Indians are also, he could have had some Indian colleagues in that particular course?
ma'am, we have large number of interactions, like the Angolan mission I served in UN peacekeeping
Yeah.
had Bangladeshi officers. But they came in after we left.
Right.
But the people who followed me would have served with them.
For sure.
And General Wakar has served in Angola.
I see.
He has served there. So tomorrow if I meet him, at least I can,
There is something in common between the two of you.
So there is a need.
So the man who has taken charge of Bangladesh, at least for the time being, would be somebody that people like yourself or your colleagues in the Indian Armed Forces would definitely know.
Yeah. And peacekeeping is a great leverage which we don't talk about in Bangladesh. Earlier, when Bangladesh army was reluctant to leave PAR, one leverage applied on them was that we will stop peacekeeping missions for you. Today, Bangladesh army has got largest contribution to peace building. They have about 7,000 people in UN, this thing. So there are various ways, and we certainly need to be nimble and agile on that.
So for you, yes, go ahead.
I wanted to add to what he has already said. We have to build bridges with the political, military of course, then also leadership which has taken hold of all this situation. Now,
Which is the BNP and the
BNP is behind. No, of course, the Jamaat-e-Islami is also one of the main persons who was players. Now we have to build up. If we can build up bridges with Taliban, Afghanistan, what's the problem with building bridges with these people? Now, it is how we take this forward. Now, if we say that we are not going to talk to them, we are not going to, it will lead to further aggravation and more differences. Today, we have a stake in Bangladesh in running that country, in running those certain things, and also for our interests, all these bordering states of Bangladesh, and that 4,000 kilometers, like you brought out, of the common border, and which is very porous at the moment.
What do you think, General? You know, Brigadier's idea that India should build bridges with the political dispensation, the army, whether it's the BNP, which has been very against India. In fact, India, in some sense, when helped the Mukti Bahini, helped Bangladesh build a country, carve out a country of its own, a new country in 1971. You can argue that today's BNP is not going to be not going to have good relations with India.
Ma'am, there is no choice. We have to take the Muizu example. Like in Maldives, initially Muizu was very het up with India. Today he is coming around. So we have to take a
Is he coming around? Is he coming around?
At least he
Seems to be coming around.
So let's take a long-term view. Let's not take a short-term view. And our biggest leverage here is Bangladesh is an aspiring country. It's an economy which wants to come up. See, we have to remember that when Sri Lanka was in fiscal crisis, Bangladesh gave money. So here is a country that is aspiring to come up. So if we build our bridges around economic consolidation, get in somebody like Japan to work the financial package, and we have to build bridges with everybody. And India is a very diverse country. If we blame, I'm sorry to say, though I'm very happy, first time in our country after a long time, opposition and the ruling party have come together and they've made a combined statement. Very heartening, very good thing to happen.
Yeah, because the polarization that you see in domestic politics should not be there in its foreign policy. And you're absolutely right, it is a heartening sign.
Heartening sign. And so, ma'am, India is a very diverse country. We have various kinds of people. Like even for Jamaat, we'll have some people in seminary in Deoband and Bareilly who would be going there. They would have been coming here. And we will find linkages. But only thing is be patient. While we provide security to Sheikh Hasina, don't be seen to be this thing. Try and put some distance between her and us. We can't ditch her. We have to be loyal to her to some extent. But we can't be seen to be helping her politically. So reach out to all the people. Reinforce army, in my perception, that hold on. Put your country to order. because army
Reinforce the army in Bangladesh.
in Bangladesh, in Bangladesh. Through our army can also help, ma'am, by rule out our, if people have some
How
contacts.
can your army help? Apart from the contacts, do you think India should support by continuing to give military assistance to Bangladesh? Because there is a lot of things in the
Chinese
pipeline.
competition in this area.
Sir, China exports 70% of its exports of armaments goes to Bangladesh. Bangladesh,
this is what we really
the
need
largest.
to now counter.
We need to counter it. But I have tried, like on this front, I have tried to work when I was a brigadier. Now, what happens is, you have to see that Kautilya's thing, Mandela theory. So these guys, they say, if we have to fight Indians. If ever we have to fight.
Who says?
Bangladeshis, real politic तो है ना कि अगर I told them that why you buying these tanks from China? Take tanks from India. Like recently they bought light tanks from China. We are developing our own Zorawar. Ideal situation is, ma'am, and which I dream and wish for, that our neighboring countries make weapons with us. We co-produce weapons along with them. We have shared kind of this thing on them. But what is happening? China is providing weapons to all our neighbors. To Myanmar, to Bangladesh, to Sri Lanka.
Do you
There is
feel
China.
India has been encircled, Brigadier? And do you feel that there was an intelligence failure?
I won't call it intelligence failure. Some indications were there already, but it was up to the leadership to take cue from what is happening, and it is happening for last 1 month. And to that extent, I would say we missed the bus, especially foreign ministry. Now they should have got in touch with Sheikh Hasina and advised her also at that point of time. Now question is, we are looking at it is only as a relationship. As strategic interest, you'll find a lot of countries, including China, is interested in Chittagong, Americans are interested in Chittagong. So it is a strategic theatre today, and not today, it will come up now, you'll find. As a strategic theatre where these powers try to woo away the next leadership, we have to make a move fast.
Your last question, Vijay.
So now what future roadmap do you see for Bangladesh?
I have
Who should be the lead, which should be the lead agency in this, and what other agencies can play a role in this?
See, Vijay, I would tend to believe Bangladesh is a very resilient country. It has got history of military rules, caretaker governments, rebounding. So I have faith in the system that it will come back. After initial angst is over, they'll regain control. The role, I would tend to feel that a security agency has to bring law and order back and take charge of situation, because and we have a stake in that. Minority population is affiliated with us, so we do not want their religious places and all getting destroyed. So to that extent, we have a huge big stake. Also, like that, Abdul Samad is now taken over as the caretaker advisor and all. He's a great entrepreneur, economist, but is he a good administrator? That's the main question. What kind of caretaker government he puts in place? And also there is one critical requirement. Somewhere in the process, America has put a distance between them and us in this dealing with Bangladesh, because it is said that USA was telling us to put pressure on Sheikh Hasina to get the election conducted in a different manner, which either we didn't do it or we couldn't do it. So,
What do you think?
what you're thinking, ma'am?
I don't know. You tell me what you think.
Probably we couldn't do it.
You could not do it?
We couldn't do it probably because
not?
by Sheikh Hasina may not have listened to us. She's been a prime minister and she had a deep mistrust of her opponents. Her family had been killed. She's carrying that kind of a bloody.
Why do you think Sheikh Hasina would not listen to you?
Because she was a balancer of sorts. She also knew how to balance between India and China. So she was also playing that game very smartly. She had this submarine base made by Chinese.
In Chittagong.
It's in Chittagong, next to Chittagong, Cox's Bazar. So, somewhere like, but what I would come back to that point, that we have to find congruence with Americans, get them on this platform that let us limit the influence of China in Bangladesh, and let us put radicals in control. These two things are critical to our end.
You think the Americans instigated the regime change, as is being said?
They would have encouraged it. Why wouldn't they? In the sense, Sheikh Hasina was not listening to them.
So the US and Pakistan may have come together to
Very
instigate
likely
this?
on this issue.
I have a different.
You have a different view.
US is only interested in Chittagong port, in some of the issues. Okay. Beyond that, they don't want to have anything on the ground because they have burned the boats in a number of cases. They don't like the simple language, but Tommy uses that they don't want to put the boots on the ground. They don't want to get involved in your affairs. So they were putting pressure on the Hasina government to cooperate with them because they also are interested in this Chittagong port, and they had large interest in that.
Right.
Because they want
There
to
is
check
this island, Saint Martin Island.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
same.
Very beautiful island, by the way. Very
Beautiful
lovely.
island. So what has happened is both China and Americans interested in Chittagong because that gives them control over the Bay of Bengal.
Yeah.
Now that is a strategic threat. What you've seen in South China Sea, the rivalry between Americans and the Chinese, it will spill over to now. Next, if you don't put your finger into it and don't stop these, whatever the planning these Americans, but Americans will not go beyond that.
Right, but I just want to tell you all that I've been to Cox's Bazar. It is just the most beautiful.
Beautiful.
I
place.
also been to Cox's
Yeah,
Bazar and Chittagong.
Not just in South Asia, but I think anywhere in the world. It's just most incredible. And it's terribly, I mean, as we watch the developments in Bangladesh, I think like both you gentlemen said, we all have to be really careful. India has to be mindful of its strategic interests in this part of the world. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there, but thank you both so much for coming to the Tribune and explaining this very, very complex story that is still unfolding. And thank you, viewers, for joining us on this discussion. I know that many of you have grown up reading the Tribune. Today, of course, we have Neeraj Chopra and the hockey team which won the bronze, but do continue to follow us across all our social media handles on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and everything else. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and continue to give us feedback on what you think that we should be doing on our website and also in the newspaper. And we will look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching.